It's a chilly, windy day on Marco Island. And there's not a lot of beachgoers. The people that are down there are bundled up in sweatshirts and they're just walking along the shoreline. The waves are crashing along the shoreline. There are no sunbathers out today. It's about 60 degrees. But I've still got something fun to show you here on Marco Island. Here's one of the famous gopher turtles from Marco Island. He's just having a little snack here. I don't want to bother him, but they're really fun to look at. Oh, he's kind of scared of me. I better leave him alone, get out of here. The gopher turtles are protected here. There's certain areas of the island where you're going to see them. If you're lucky, they're all over the place, but sometimes you just never come across them. Sometimes you'll see, half a dozen. And he just went into his hole right on the other side of that flag. Little mound, and he crawled into the hole there. As cool as they are, I didn't want to show you the gopher tortoises. I'm here to show you Otter Mound Preserve. Otter Mound Preserve is about a 2.5 acre preserve here on Marco Island. But if you're looking for otters, you're not going to find them because this preserve was named for a former resident who used to own all of this. His name was Ernest. And there is Gladys, Ernest's wife. And I guess that's Ernest's picture way down there. Here's the story of Otter Mound. It used to be where the early residents of Caxambas Village lived, and most of them were involved in the clamming industry here. But first, I want to show you something. Have you ever seen a wall made out of human skulls? Look at this. Isn't it amazing? Of course, I'm kidding you. They're not human skulls. These are whelk shells. And these walls were all made by Ernest Otto sometime around the mid-century. I think he lived here from the 50s all the way up to 1997. And he made his terrace gardens out of all of these thousands and thousands of whelk shells. Pretty amazing. And we're going to see a lot of those as we walk around here. Ernest was a pretty busy guy. But the mound on which all of this sits was man-made. It was originally created sometime around 700 to 1200 AD by the Collier Indians who lived in this area. And this whole mound was created by whelk shells and clam shells and different shells from the area. And in just a moment, we are going to come upon a natural hardwood hammock. When you hear the term hammock here, what they're referring to in the raised elevated areas, so you're off of the swampy areas, the hardwood forest will grow in sort of a canopy and cover the area, and it gives you shade and it makes it a little cooler in those really hot summer months. And so different types of vegetation and wildlife can take hold. And this is actually a semi-natural hammock because the mound was man-made, but the trees that grew, I imagine, were natural. All this white that you see are broken shells. So once again, here are some of those terrace gardens that Ernie Otter put together. They're roped off. They don't want you walking on these, but really a lot of work. I would imagine 70 years ago, these are really beautiful. And here's a sign about the gopher tortoises, and you can see a little bit about how they burrow underground. And that's the hole that he went into when I was showing him to you earlier. And we're looking down from the top of some of these terraces as well here. I don't know how good you can see that, but there's 3 different terrace levels. And these shells are just about everywhere. I pick it up and show it to you. And this is the end that he placed outward. That's what gives us that design. But this is what the entire shell looks like. We're not going to break them. We're going to leave it right here. I said thousands. There's probably millions of shells here. It's almost unbelievable to think that over hundreds of years, the Collier Indians went ahead and built this up. And here we're coming to one of those hammocks I talked about. So you can see how it makes a little tunnel out of trees. There are no facilities here, but there's a lot of signage that tells you the things you may see, including the bobcat. And of course, we already saw this guy. And we're going to see an owl. They're all over, and I'll be sure to take a video for you. And here are some of the many butterflies that we might see on the path. If you're ever in the Marco Island area and you're wondering where we are, we're in what's called the Indian Hills part of the island. It is in the southeast corner of Marco Island. I don't know what the historical structure is. Oh, it's an outhouse, it looks like. You're not supposed to disturb it. I wonder if this is where old Ernie did his business. I came up on this from the other direction, so I didn't see it. I just saw the little sign. So when they talk about a hammock, this is what they're referring to. When the foliage just creates a little umbrella and goes right over the top. And that creates a really cool area. And sometimes, like in the summer months, the mosquitoes are just terrible in these areas. But right now, in January, it's a beautiful time to come and walk around this path. Here's a great view of the mound. And you can see how it goes upwards from where we are at this level. So you can really understand how this mound works. When you see mounds like this, you're very likely going to see hammocks. Look at those trees, beautiful. And if you're hearing sounds, voices, pounding, it's because we are really sort of in the middle of a neighborhood. This preserve is just smack dab surrounded by houses. I'm about the only one in here right now. I saw one other older couple, but otherwise it's just me walking around here. And there's signage throughout telling you the different plants that we might be seeing. In general, there's a lot of non-native plants and animals. Sometimes the animals might be considered invasive. Well, the plants too, because people brought them with them either intentionally or by accident, and they kind of took hold here in Southwest Florida. One example of that is the Burmese python. There are so many pythons in this area. We don't like them, but there's not a lot we can do about them because they're probably here to stay. Here's another great example of the terracing. So you can see we got one level and then another level and all the way down because we're kind of higher up on the mound right now. And way over there you can see some more of the terracing. That Ernest was a busy guy. There really is a temptation to cross over these ropes because it looks like some pretty neat stuff if you do. Of course I'm not going to, but I'm sure there's people who do. And this looks like the start of another young hammock here going over the top of us. There's not a lot of paths here. It's only 2.5 acres, so you can get through it pretty quickly. If you're ever in the Marco Island area and it's a cooler day and it's not really suitable to go to the beach and you're tired of, going and seeing a movie or shopping or going to the restaurants, check it out. Otter Mound is really a neat place. This might be what it looked like in its heyday. According to this sign, their house was right back here, built in 1923, and it burned down on October 31st, 1978. So Ernest Otto's house burned to the ground on Halloween night. While I was researching this, I found that Ernest Otto lived here until 1989. However, according to that sign I just read, it said he died in 1977. I'm going to believe the official sign, but that's still pretty impressive. He lived here for, it sounds like, about 25 years, and I imagine it was a beautiful place, kind of overgrown and natural now. And that's why it's fun to look around, a little of everything. You can see the natural part of Florida, and you can also see what one man did to try to beautify the area. And you can see a little bit of those remains. By the way, this is on the water. There's no way to get to the waterfront, but this comes right out on the 10,000 Islands. Now this does say it's a protected archaeological site. I imagine that's referring to a lot of things. Some of the earliest settlers to the Caxambas area, people like Ernest Otter, who first developed the area, And then, you know, the original settlers, the Collier Indians, who actually built this mound over hundreds of years with different shellfish from the area. I almost missed this one. This doesn't even look like a path, but I think it is. So let's take a look. Oh, there's another cactus. No, I don't believe this is a path. This looks like it's a little rugged back here. But someone's been back here clearing the trees. Who knows how many decades ago that occurred. I better get back to the path. The more I walk around, the more of these tree stumps I'm seeing. And it looks like there's, I don't know, a rain gauge or something on the side of that tree stump right there. And this is interesting. It looks like a brand new tree was just planted, but there is sort of a bed that's made out of these shells. So I wonder if that dates back to Ernie Otter's time. Let's go look for some owls and tortoises. When you see roped off areas like this with those little T-shaped posts, that's where the burrowing owls live here on Marco Island. I see two of the areas, but I don't see any of the owls right now. There's another tortoise up there in the hill. Let's see if we can get a closer look. There he is right there. He's gonna start walking over to his hole because he sees me. But there's another one way back there. See him in the sand? He's a really big daddy. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. That's a pretty big tortoise. And this guy's just eating his lunch. He doesn't seem too bothered by me, but I'm not gonna hang around. I'm gonna let him enjoy the afternoon. And I'm shooting this from my car, but there's another one right there, halfway into his turtle mound. And there's a sign that says, "Do not disturb him." So we won't. And there's a great view of a tortoise burrow. There's a lot of them on this hillside. I hope you enjoyed our visit to Otter Mound, Marco Island, Florida. If so, please like and share. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell icon. That way you'll know when I post new videos. From Otter Mound, Marco Island, Florida, this is the Average Me Channel.